time we were having an event on Sunday evening. We were planning to have it on Saturday, but due to some other events that were taking place, so we couldn't do it. The reason we wanted to do this particular week because we're celebrating 75 years of India's Constitution Republic Day. So we're celebrating here on this particular day. So I want to tell you, we have a great event for you. My name is Bharat. I'm going to be MC for today. I'm happy to be Secretary of the Governing Board. And so, before we begin our event, I'm going to ask the Panditji to do the opening prayer. Pandit.
Hari Om. Namaste. Om Bhadram Karne Bhigat Surya Dev Bhadram Pasya Jatra Stirai Rangai Durvagan Sano Bhige Vyase Mahideva Hitam Yatayo Om Susina Jindro Vruddharava Sustina Puka Visvaveda Sustina Statyo Aritanimi Susino Brigasvadir Dadatu Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunatu Sagaviryam Karavavage Tejasvina Paditamasthuma Vidvishavage Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.
Thank you, Panditji. So we begin with a speaker. For 1 hour, this young man is going to take us a journey of India. And then we're going to go with the singers. We have classical singers here. And they're going to be having the next half an hour. And then we have children from Bal Vihar. They're going to be doing the national anthem, both the Indian and American. And this will be a event for today. And after that, will be followed by Aarti and a dinner. So let me introduce to the young man who's here today. He lives in Western, okay? 24-year-olds, graduated from Wharton University. I mean, he broke the record of Wharton University. Mostly it takes 4 years to do the course. He did it in 2 years. So over 100 plus years of the record of the university, he broke the record. And he's an entrepreneur in his own ways, and he supports Sanatana Dharma. So he believes in it, and he wants to talk more on it. And he also run his own YouTube. So you can listen, you can watch him on YouTube, okay? And he has deep knowledge of Hindu scripture. And of course, he's a brilliant speaker. So we are very proud to have him today. Okay, so please give a big round of applause to Sugant Khanna. And as you can see, he's already got the 3 topics that we're going to talk about. Okay, so this is very important that we probably will learn from him more. I mean, the legacy of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and his impact on Indian subcontinent after the independence. And also self-healing through Surya Dev's Vedic hymns. I mean, a lot of us, we do give the Surya Dev gel every morning, some of us do. But this is how he can educate us a little more on that. And also the great sages who lived on the bank of Narmada River. So we got 3 topics, he's going to talk about it. So, Siddhant, you're on. Somebody else there.
Dhanyavad Dilipji. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Namaste to everyone. I am Sugant Khanna from Western Florida, and today I'm going to be covering 3 topics that will display the glory of Bharat as we engage in the Republic Day celebrations through this Navjeevan group. So the first one is, what would Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji do if he's alive today? The second topic is self-healing through Surya Dev's Vedic Hymn. And the third topic is sages who lived on the banks of the Narmada River. So, in order to celebrate the greatness of Bharat, just last week we had the Prana Pratishtana of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. So, who all here watched it live and stayed up through the night? That's a great response. And because of that Prana Pratishtana ceremony, Bharatvarsh, which is the name of Bharat in Sanskrit, has been transformed into Rama Rajya. So to open up the presentation, I'm going to sing a bhajan for Sri Ram, Bhagavan Sri Ram, and if you all know, you can join and sing along. Om Mangal Bhavan Amangal Hari Drava Sudha Sharat Ajar Bihari Ram Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram Ram Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Jai Shri Ram. A little bit more energy. Jai Shri Ram. That's what I like. So now that everyone has woken up and is energized, let's continue with the presentation. So, when we talk about Bharatvarsh, we need to understand why Bharat is such a great nation. And I posit to you that there are three factors which form the foundation of the greatness of our nation, and that's why India is the fifth largest economy in the world, and we're the fastest growing economy amongst the G20 countries. And the first factor is strong leadership. From even before independence, Bharat always had strong leaders, whether that be in the freedom fighter movement or, up till now. The second factor is a healthy populace, and that's supported by spirituality and Ayurveda. And finally, the third, but the most important, is natural resources. So many hill stations, rivers, mines. So, like that, these three factors combine together to help establish the foundation for Bharat to be great and continue to grow. So, let's start with strong leadership. The perfect example of this in the early days of our nation is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And in fact, he has said a quote: "There is something unique in the soil which, despite many obstacles, has always remained the abode of great souls." So even back then, he had that positive belief and mindset that people from Bharat are great. So what we need that self-confidence from the Iron Man, Vallabhbhai Patel ji, to permeate across the landscape and be present in every one of the citizens or people of origin of Bharat. So let me give you a little bit of bio data on Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji, because it's always important to remain tied up with your roots. Because where you come from impacts your thought process and where you are going to go in life. So his father is Jawaharbhai Patel and his mother is Lalbhai, and he actually is one of the unique founding fathers who came from a humble agricultural background. So during a young age, when he was in middle and secondary school, he used to help his father, till the fields and harvest, and that helped him develop his tenacity, strong will, and that mindset that he can break through and succeed in any challenge that comes before him. And he was born in 1875 in Nadia, which is in present-day Gujarat, and he passed away in 1950 in Mumbai. His profession is he was a barrister, and he was married to Jawaharbhai Patel. So, after going to secondary school, he became a very successful barrister in the Gujarat region, and because of that, his skills in litigating and arguing in court, back then the legal profession was very prestigious in Bharat. I mean, it still is, but a lot of the founding fathers come from legal background. And the British Raj, they actually offered him many posts in the civil service and administration of the Raj. But Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel understood, and he was a man of principle. Even though those posts, you get a nice gadi, bungalow, and all the perks that come with being a part of the civil service and administration, he was very particular that he would not accept those positions and continue to serve as a barrister. The uniqueness of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and his contribution to the freedom fighter movement and independence is he joined the Quit India movement in 1942, but more so, his contribution comes from the fact that he united the farmers against aggressive taxation policies of the British Raj. So if you look, 1918, there was a major flood tax, Khaira flood tax that was imposed, and he successfully protested against that. In 1928, the Bardoli Tax Act, and farmers there in Gujarat were struggling, but he helped unite them, give them a voice, and utilize that to kickstart the thought of an independent mindset in the fields of Gujarat. And then subsequent, prior to the institution of the constitution, he was very instrumental in bringing together various princely states from Bharat together. So he integrated over 500 princely states, because back then India was composed of various provinces and kingdoms, and they had their own rulers. So he was instrumental in bringing them together and constituting Bharat as we know it today. And the reason why that's so important is he was a, I think someone should check the mic. He was a major unifier. We can hear it? Okay. So as I was saying, and when he brought these provinces in, there was 4 critical provinces that he brought into Bharat. They are Hyderabad, which is the present day tech city, one of the tech capitals in India. They're responsible for a good chunk of the GDP. Kashmir, which was important for the sentiments of the followers of Sanatana Dharma, but also it's important from a natural resource perspective, because you have the rains that are coming from the mountains in Himachal Pradesh, and Kashmir served as a very important water reservoir that's critical for agriculture in the surrounding region. And Jungad, why Jungad is important? Because of the Somnath temple, and Jodhpur to preserve the Rajasthani culture. So, and because of these achievements and his accolades and his strength, he was awarded the Bharat Ratna posthumously in 1991. The Bharat Ratna is the highest civilian award that a citizen can get in Bharat. So let me tell you about how this great Somnath temple got rebuilt, and it's only through the efforts of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and those who supported him. But he was the kickstarter. He was the bold person who moved forward in this respect. So let's go back to 1947. Anybody here who was born on or before 1947? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm sure you all remember, the joy you had when Somnath temple got built. But I'll tell the story for the rest of you. November 13, 1947. That's a very critical date. That's the date when Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji developed the thought of reconstructing the Somnath Mandir. He was, on that particular day, he was visiting that region, and he was visiting the Arabian Sea because the temple is close to the water. And he saw the existing status of the temple and the prayer structures that were there. So he made it a goal that so long as he lives, he will do everything possible. He will commit every cell of his body to building this Somnath Mandir. So when he visited the sea, he took an oath. Water is very sacred in Sanatana Dharma. So he took an oath that he will make this dream for Sanatana Dharma followers a reality, and soon formed a group of like-minded people, and they instituted the Sri Somnath Trust, of which the first chairman was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji. And they built the temple. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1950, but they inaugurated the mandir into the Prana Pratishtana in 1951, and that sthala is very important because it is one of the 12 Jyotirlingas, or the locations in Bharat where Bhagavan Shiv presented himself in the unending vertical column of light, or Jyoti. And when it comes to the Somnath temple, it's important to never forget the history. That temple has been razed, meaning destroyed, and it's also been re-raised, meaning reconstructed many times. So in order to overcome that injustice that had been placed upon followers of Sanatana Dharma and Shiv Bhakts, he was very particular about constructing this mandir. So let's come to the present day, 21st century. What would Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel think of where Bharat stands right now, and also what he can improve on and what he can do to build up in the future? So if you look at geopolitics, Vallabhbhai Patel ji was very critical. He was very particular about warning the cabinet and leaders of the early independent India that we need to be careful when dealing with China. China is not necessarily a geopolitical friend of India. In fact, it's more of a rival, in spite of what they might have said back then. And this is really important right now, because if you look at where Bharat is at the geopolitical level, they are forming trade relationships with countries like the United States, like France, like Italy, because those Western countries want to wean themselves off of their manufacturing dependence on China. And I think Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel would be very pleased to see that development. One more thing I want to mention about Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is the largest statue in the entire world. It's called the Statue of Unity, and it's right on the banks of the Narmada River, which I'm going to talk about shortly. That statue is the largest statue in the world, and it's made of iron. And that's of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. It was inaugurated about a few years back by Prime Minister Modi. So now, let's come to the second phase of the presentation. Self-healing and healthy populace. So in Sanatana Dharma, there are 4 Vedas. You have the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and can anyone tell me the 4th Veda? Yes, Atharvana Veda. So if you look at the Vedas, it's really important to understand this. In all the Vedas, there are 2 divisions. There is the Karma Kanda, which talks about how to do various rituals, like the Soma Yajna, the Rajasuya Yajna, Ashwamedha Yajna, and Vajpayee Yajna, which actually was done in Pune back in the 60s. And it's a very powerful yajna done for rulers who are successful. But there's also the Jnana Kanda, and that part is primarily composed of the Upanishads. So each of the 4 Vedas, they have their own Upanishads that are associated with them. For example, the Krishna Yajurveda has the Taittiriya Upanishad. So like that, there are different Upanishads associated with each of the Vedas. And the Atharvana Veda, it has various Upanishads associated with it, like the Ganapati Upanishad. In fact, the invocatory prayer today, the Bhadram Karne Vishnuyama, Deva Bhadram Pashyama Akshapiri Jatra, that comes from the opening portion of the Ganapati Upanishad from the Atharvana Veda. There's another Upanishad, it's called the Surya Upanishad. And in that, there's a mantra called the Atharva Angirasa Surya Mantra, Aditya Mantra. And that mantra is very powerful. It's Om Grinihi Surya Aditya Om. Let me repeat. Om Grinihi Surya Aditya Om. And so together, let's everyone close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out 5 times. And we'll chant this mantra in unison together 21 times. Okay, so now let's start chanting. Om Grinihi Surya Aditya Om. Om Grinihi Surya Aditya Om. Om Grinihi Surya Aditya Om Granihi 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 Surya Aditya. Thank you. So now let's talk about the benefits of chanting this mantra. So first, I encourage everyone to chant this mantra facing east in the morning 21 times. And there are various benefits to that. It removes the fear of major diseases. You know, a lot of people, they experience symptoms of diseases due to fear. In fact, in the medical terminology, there's a term for this, psychosomatic disorder. And also, it helps mitigate the effects and cure chronic and major diseases. And in Sanatana Dharma, we always believe in unity and cultural strength, and specifically unity within the family. That's very critical. That's why we have been able to preserve and maintain our culture. And the reason why I say this at this juncture is anything you do impacts 7 generations before you, so your ancestors, and also 7 generations after, your children, grandchildren, and their progeny, and their descendants. So you have a total of 14 generations of impact from your actions. So if you do good, it's going to help them. If you don't do so, if you do take part in other big activities, it's going to hurt them. And also, it's not just the patrilineal lineage too. It also impacts your close uncles, aunts, and cousins. So that's why, chanting this mantra, it will help your children and grandchildren develop and increase the value of their businesses and increase their wealth. So you're not chanting it just for yourself, you're chanting it for your entire family. And it also, helps free from the effects of major sins. So chanting it when the sun, Surya Dev, is in Hasta Nakshatra is very auspicious, and that helps conquer the effects of rebirth and death. And this year, Hasta Nakshatra is coming, the sun enters Hasta Nakshatra from September 27th until October 10th. So I'd like everyone to take their cell phones out and open WhatsApp. And add my number as a contact, because I want to form a group dedicated to chanting this particular mantra. The reason why is in Sanatana Dharma, we always believe in doing things together, the power of satsang. So let me give you my WhatsApp number. It's +1, it's a US number, 954 999 3271. That's, I'll repeat, 954 999 3271. And go ahead and save my number and send me a message now with your first and last name, and also state Navjeevan, so I know what context it is. And I challenge you all.
You repeat the number?
Yes, it's +1 954 999 3271. That's +1 954 999 3271. And I want each one of you, every morning after you chant this mantra, to post in the group that I have chanted. Now, the reason why that is very important, and make sure to send me a message too, when you add my number, so I have it and I can add you to it. Yes, you?
So, Grandpai, that was very nice about the mantra, but I bet 90% of the people do not know what's the meaning of that mantra. Could you explain the meaning of that mantra? So once we understand what it means, it helps.
Good question.
Right. So the mantra, usually when you have these Gayatri mantras and longer mantras, you have, there's more of a developed meaning to them. But this mantra is more for, it's implicitly praising the brightness and effulgence of Surya Dev. The beauty of it is it's short. So the meaning, of praising Surya Dev is very condensed. I think we're getting a few calls. That's okay. You can message me by WhatsApp. That'll be better. But so as I was saying, the reason why these mantras are shorter is because they're primarily for meditating on that particular deity. And in fact, I'll tell you a beautiful story, now that Ram Mandir has been inaugurated, about how Bhagavan Sri Ram prayed to Surya Dev to achieve victory over Ravan. And this is laid out in the Yuddha Kanda. And Ravan, even though he is definitely an evil asura, he had a lot of skills. He's a Samaveda Bhakt and he's a Shiva Bhakta. So he had gained a lot of boons and had knowledge of a lot of astras. When Ram was fighting against Ravan, in the beginning it was actually a relatively even matchup. They were both very skilled warriors. So Ram was waiting for that breakthrough. How when you're developing a business, people talk about a breakthrough, or when you're researching on a particular pharmaceutical drug, they talk about a breakthrough, or when you're trying to create a new medical procedure, they talk about, that was a medical breakthrough, for example, by various doctors. So like that, he needed a breakthrough to beat Ravan. At that time, Maharishi Agastya, who was one of the foremost rishis in Sanatana Dharma, he arrived at the battlefield and he taught Ram a stotra called the Aditya Hridaya Stotra. And after Sri Rama did the partaking the water, which is called Acharana, and he chanted this mantra, he was able to defeat Ravan. And that's the power of Surya Dev. So that stotra is very long. It will take quite a bit of time to chant it. So that's why in this Upanishad they have condensed it down to one particular mantra that you can chant and meditate on the brightness, effulgence, and greatness of Surya Dev. So everyone got my number and sent me a message, right? So when I formed the group, put a message on there, chant it in the morning 21 times, put a message on there, and say I've chanted. And the main reason for that is you want to create accountability. You want everyone in the community to chant, and that will help make the South Florida and also the world a healthier community. now we're going to go to the third phase of the presentation. And before that, I'm going to chant a Vedic mantra from the Krishna Yajurveda Taittiriya Shaka. Kshatrena agne swayussagam ravasva mitrena agne mitradheye yatasva jatana madhyamasta ediragyamagne vihavyodiriya. So the meaning of this mantra from the Yajurveda is very symbolic. It's praising Agni Dev and imagining him as the perfect king of a kingdom. It talks about how to rule and administer a kingdom. Specifically, you need to be strong when dealing with your enemies. But you also need to develop strategic partnerships and alliances with like-minded countries. And also it talks about the importance of tejas and brilliance in the ruler of a country. And like that, there are many other Vedic mantras which have deep meaning within them. And all the lessons are contained within those mantras. So now I'm going to talk about the Narmada River. The Narmada River, it begins in Madhya Pradesh, flows through Maharashtra and through Gujarat and then empties into the Arabian Sea. One of the most important temples and mandirs on the banks of the Narmada River is the Omkareshwar Jyotirlinga temple. And millions of devotees every year, they go there to take darshan from Shiva Bhagavan. There's something special about the Narmada River, something called the Narmada Parikrama. It is a Pada Yatra, meaning a pilgrimage which you take by foot. So people circumambulate, they walk around both sides of the Narmada River and they never cross the Narmada River during this. So they start on the north side, go to Gujarat and then they come back on the south to Madhya Pradesh. So like that, on the way they visit various temples, and the beauty of this particular pilgrimage is on the way nobody goes hungry. There are various places that provide food. So you really, that's the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. You really don't need to have that many resources to engage in devotion. The community supports.
Sir, go back. You are a very knowledgeable person. Why Kashmir is not part of India?
I think it got cut off, definitely.
Yeah, but make sure next time, don't do that.
That's a good catch.
It may be, the picture may be there, it's...
Yeah, I think it might have been cut off by the circle.
That's the kind of map China and Pakistan has put on.
Yeah. So on the Narmada River, you have these natural lingas that are formed, and these are called the Vanalingas, and they are installed in various mandirs, across the Narmada River and also in other parts of India as well. They are very holy lingas. They are gathered from the river, polished by talented individuals who engage in that particular craft. So now I want to talk about one of the most important rishis who lived on the banks of the Narmada River. He's actually originally from the Haryana region, but he settled and developed a big ashram in what is present-day Bharat in Gujarat. In fact, the original name of Bharat is Kacha, and he's a very powerful rishi. He's one of the Sapta rishis. In fact, when we do the Sandhya Vandana mantras, the Sandhi mantras, it says Atri Prabhu Kutsa Vashishta Gautama Kashyapa Angirasa Rishaya. So Angirasa from the Surya Upanishad is one of the Saptarishis, and also Maharishi Bhrigu is. And he's actually a Manas Putra of Lord Brahma, the most learned Brahmin in the entire universe, and also the creator, the God who is responsible for the creation. Now, Vedavyasa, who is the author of the Mahabharata, he, in the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavata Purana, which he is author in Sanskrit, he gives a beautiful story about the greatness of Maharishi Bhrigu. So in ancient times, they would have all these Maharishis congregate in one particular place to do yajnas, and in the breaks between the yajnas, they would have these debates and discussions. So one time a topic came up about who is the greatest out of the Trimurti. So you have Brahma the creator, Vishnu the protector, and Bhagavan Shiva the destroyer. And each Devata definitely has their strong points. So none of the Maharishis were able to come to a consensus. So they appointed Maharishi Bhrigu to find the answer to this question. And he came up with a nice strategy. First, he went to his father's place in Satyaloka, Brahma, and he didn't, do namaskar before him or respect him when he visited him. So Brahma got a little bit angry, and he was about to say some choice words for his son Bhrigu, but then he realized that this is part of the whole strategy, so he remained quiet. Then he goes to Kailash, Maharishi Bhrigu goes to Kailash, and Shiva gets up to embrace him because of his greatness. But Maharishi Bhrigu doesn't return the embrace. And in fact, he said some insulting words about Shiva Bhagavan, about his appearance and how he lives and all that. So Shiv naturally got quite upset. He picked up his Trishul and was about to hurl it at Bhrigu and cut his head off when Parvati Devi calmed him down. I'm sure in many of the households here, the wife, the Grihini, is responsible for cooling down the Grihastha, the husband, when they get angry, right? Then Bhrigu, he goes he travels to Vaikuntham. And the speciality of Brahmarishi Bhrigu is, he has the VVIP ticket. He's a big VVIP in Sanatana Dharma. So when he goes to Vaikuntham, usually there are two gods that are guarding the gate, Jaya and Vijaya. So they just let him through. And at that time, Vishnu, he's in his usual reclining pose as shown in that particular picture. And Mahalakshmi, the goddess of wealth, is massaging his feet. Bhrigu, seeing this, immediately goes and gives a big kick on the chest of Vishnu. And that forms what is known as the Srivatsa mark. And that's still present on Vishnu's chest, and it's shown in a lot of the temples all across India. Immediately Vishnu gets up, asks Bhrigu to take a seat, and starts washing his leg and asking him how his journey has been and what his latest achievements are. What's the latest news in the Sanatana Dharma world and what the rishis are researching. And Lakshmi was a little bit perturbed, because she resides in the chest of Vishnu, right? So when Bhrigu kicked Vishnu, she felt as if she had been insulted. So she got a little bit angry, went to Bhuloka, went to Earth, and as Padmavati in Tirupati Devasthanam, there she reunited with Venkateshwara at some point later. But what this shows, and then after this whole story, Vishnu, he says that I am so privileged, Maharishi Bhrigu, to have had contact with your holy feet. See, look at how he changed the perspective. What he's teaching us is, in life, when we face odd circumstances like that, we should always look at it from a positive perspective. And Maharishi Bhrigu, when he went back to Earth, before the assembly of rishis, he told all of them, Mahavishnu is the greatest among the Trimurti because of his great level of humility and understanding. So with that, I would like to conclude the presentation and open it up for question and answer from the audience. Let's have an interactive discussion.